Danny's hand moved like she'd done this 100 times before, even though she swore it was her first. The stick in her fingers scratched against the packed dirt, tracing lines that made no sense to me. Circles, slashes, little hooked marks that caught the last of the afternoon light. I kept expecting her to smudge them out and laugh, to admit she was guessing, but she didn't. She drew like she remembered something I'd forgotten. When she finished, the air felt different, heavier, almost damp. A faint shimmer rolled through the lines she'd drawn, quick as breath. My throat went dry. "See," she said, "it's not about the lines themselves. It's what they remind you of." I crouched beside her. The marks looked ordinary again, dirt on dirt. "They remind me that you've lost your mind," I muttered. She grinned, but didn't look at me. "You don't have to believe in it, Weiler. Just feel it." I tried. I really did. I put my hand over one of the lines like she told me to. The ground was cool, rough, with grit. I waited. I wanted to feel something, a pulse, a hum, anything. But all I got was the steady thump of my own heartbeat and the embarrassment crawling up my neck. "I don't feel anything," I said finally. Danny leaned closer, her hair falling forward. Light glinted off it, weaving threads of bronze through shadow. "You're listening too hard," she said. "You have to let go of trying. That doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to. Magic isn't a math problem." I almost laughed. She sounded so sure of herself, so calm. The dirt, the marks, the whole absurd thing, it all made sense to her somehow. And I hated that it didn't to me. The breeze shifted, carrying the smell of pine resin and sun-warmed grass. I watched her trace the edge of one of the symbols, her touch so light it barely disturbed the dust. The ground shimmered again, faint, silver, gone before I could blink. My stomach twisted. "You did that!" She shook her head. "No, the ground did. I just reminded it. That kind of talk used to make me laugh. Now it made me uneasy. And I'm supposed to remind the ground too." "No." She looked up then, and her eyes were bright, steady. "You remind yourself." I wanted to ask what that meant, but something in her voice, quiet, certain, stopped me. I just stared at the dirt between us, wishing it would give me something, anything. Danny didn't say anything for a while. She just sat there, the stick still in her hand, eyes on the dirt like it might whisper back. The silence stretched, filled with the sound of insects and the slow shuffle of my mule, Onion, behind us. He'd found a patch of grass near the stream and was chewing like the fate of the world depended on it. Every few bites he'd make this satisfied snort that sounded more human than it had any right to. "Even Onion believes in me more than you do," Danny said without looking up. I glanced over my shoulder. Onion lifted his head, a strand of grass dangling from his mouth, and blinked at us with the flat judgment of someone who's seen too many of my mistakes. "Don't drag him into this," I said. "He's neutral." Danny smiled, the kind of smile that made me think she was winning something I didn't know we were competing for. She drew another circle, then crossed through it with a line so straight it could have been cut with glass. As she finished the last stroke, the mark lit up not a bright flash, but a soft pulse of light, like moonlight caught in water. It lasted only a heartbeat before fading back to brown dust. That tiny shimmer was worse than nothing. It made me want it, that flicker, that proof. "How do you do that?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. Danny brushed her hands on her knees. "I told you. I don't. It just happens when I stop trying. That's not helpful. It's not supposed to be." I groaned, dropping back onto my elbows. "Do you even hear yourself? You sound like some kind of fortune teller." She tilted her head, pretending to think. "Maybe. But the fortune's yours to read, Viola." I stared up at the sky wide, pale blue, a hawk circling so high it looked like a scratch on glass. I wanted to be anywhere else. Danny had this quiet way of making the impossible look effortless, and every second I failed made me feel smaller. "Fine," I said, sitting up again. "Walk me through it again. Pretend I'm dense." Danny snorted. "Pretend? Ha, very funny. Come on." She pointed to the dirt. "You start with the breath. Don't think about the marks. Don't think about the ground. Just breathe. The ground already knows what it is. You're the one who keeps forgetting." Onion brayed long and loud, as if to second the accusation. I threw a pebble in his direction. He didn't even flinch. I closed my eyes and tried to do what she said. Just breathe. Just listen. The air felt too warm. My knees hurt. My mind kept counting the seconds. The ground stayed stubbornly silent. When I opened my eyes again, Danny was watching me with that calm, maddening patience. "Well?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. "Unless the magic is supposed to be sweating." Danny shifted to sit cross-legged across from me, brushing a smear of dust off dress. "All right," she said. "Let's try something different." "I'm listening," I lied. She gave me that look, the one that made me feel like a stubborn child caught stealing jam. "No, you're waiting to talk. That's different." I sighed and dropped my head into my hands. "You're enjoying this way too much." She ignored me, plucking a small pebble from the ground and setting it between us. "Mana isn't something you chase," she said. "It's what's already moving through you, through everything. You don't grab it, you align with it, like floating on your back in a river." "Right," I said, "except this river hates me." "Maybe stop thrashing then." I rolled my eyes, but she just smiled and closed hers. "Sit still," she said softly. "Don't try to think of anything. Just notice when you do." I tried. For about 5 seconds. The wind buzzed in the grass. A fly landed on my arm. Onion farted somewhere behind me, and I almost lost it. "Stay with the breath," Danny murmured. "You're not here to win. You're here to listen." I tried again. In, out, in, out. The dirt pressed against my knees, my shoulders itched. Every sound felt too loud, birds, wind, onions chewing. My thoughts tangled like brambles. Am I doing it right? Is Danny watching me? What if nothing happens again? And through it all, the silence, under the noise, that heavy, still place where I was supposed to feel something stayed blank. I cracked one eye open. Danny was still, her face calm, like she could sit there forever. The marks she'd drawn earlier had faded, but I thought I saw one of them glimmer faintly before the light shifted, and it was gone again. "How long do we do this?" I asked. "Until you stop asking that question." I groaned, flopping backward onto the ground. "So, forever." She laughed quietly. "Probably not forever. Most people just need to get out of their own way." "I don't even know what that means," I said to the sky. "How do you get out of your own way?" "I am my way." "That," she said, "is exactly why you can't feel it." I turned my head toward her. "You realize that sounds like something Onion would say if he could talk? Then maybe you should start listening to him," she said, eyes still closed. I couldn't help smiling, even though I was annoyed. There was something steady about her, a kind of patience that didn't feel forced. Like she believed the world would open eventually, and she could wait as long as it took. But I didn't have her patience. I had dirt in my boots and sweat down my back and a hollow ache in my chest that no amount of breathing seemed to fill. "You know," she said, "where I come from, we used to sit like this too. Not for magic, though, just to breathe, or because someone told us it would help with anxiety." I turned my head toward her. "You mean before you came here?" She nodded. "Yeah, back in Ohio." I frowned. "Ohio? That's a kingdom?" She laughed softly. "Something like that. A world of pavement and metal. We built towers so tall they scraped the sky, but nobody looked up long enough to notice. Everyone stared at little glowing rectangles instead. Sounds bleak. It was. She picked at a blade of grass between her fingers. Magic wasn't gone there, just buried under noise. People forgot how to listen, how to be still. I used to sit by this muddy little river behind my apartment and pretend I could feel something humming under the water. I tried to picture it, her, sitting by a river in this strange place of towers and glowing rectangles, trying to find what I couldn't even find here. It made something tighten in my chest. "So that's what this is for you?" I asked. "Finding what you lost?" She smiled faintly. "Maybe, or remembering that it was never really lost." Her words lingered, heavier than the air. I looked down at the dirt between my knees. The marks she'd drawn were gone now, erased by the wind and my clumsy movements. But the ground still felt alive somehow, not loud or dramatic, just there, steady and waiting. "All right," I said quietly. "One more time." Danny nodded, closing her eyes. "Breathe. Don't look for anything. Just be here." I inhaled, slow and careful. The air filled my chest, cool and dry. Exhaled again. The sounds faded, the buzzing flies, the distant rustle of onions shifting his weight. My thoughts still came, but they didn't stick. They drifted past like leaves on a stream. Somewhere deep, below the noise of blood and bone, I felt it a flicker. Not heat, not sound, but a soft knowing, like a pulse under my skin that wasn't mine alone. It shimmered for an instant, bright and fragile as breath, and then it was gone. I opened my eyes. The world looked the same, trees, sky, dirt, but it all felt closer, sharper. "I felt it," I said, barely a whisper. Danny's smile was slow, proud. "Good. It was just a second, but—" I stopped because words couldn't catch it. The spark, the quiet connection, the proof that something real had been waiting all along. "Just a second's enough," she said. "Now you know it's there." And for the first time all day, I believed her. Danny was still smiling when she spoke again. "You know," she said, "this feels weirdly familiar." "Magic lessons?" I asked. "Sort of," she said, brushing dust from her palms. "Where I come from, people love stories like this about someone ordinary who ends up in another world. They call it isekai." "Isekai," I repeated, trying the word out. "That a spell?" "Not quite," she laughed. "It's a kind of story. Usually the person dies car crash, freak lightning, something dramatic, and then wakes up somewhere new like this, with powers no one else has." "Reincarnation," I said slowly. "Exactly. Though back home we didn't really believe in it. We just liked the idea that if life chewed you up once, maybe you'd get another go at it. A better one." She plucked a twig from the dirt and drew lazy spirals beside her knee. "We called those stories anime when they moved, graphic novels when they didn't. People spent hours with them, whole lives sometimes. They were bright and wild dragons, spaceships, magic schools. Kids used to dream about getting pulled into them." I tried to picture it, an entire world dreaming about other worlds. "So your people sat around imagining themselves somewhere like this?" "Pretty much." Her grin was self-mocking but soft. "We were restless, always wanting to be someone else, somewhere else. Maybe that's why I ended up here." "You think you got—" "What was it? Isekai'd?" She laughed, and for a moment I thought she might deny it. But then she tilted her head and said, "Maybe. It'd make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, I pick up a stick and the ground glows. You've lived here your whole life and can barely get the dirt to notice you. Clearly, I'm the protagonist." I snorted. "You're insufferable. Main characters usually are." I shook my head, but couldn't stop the smile tugging at my mouth. So, if you're the protagonist, what does that make me? Comic relief, obviously. Figures. She laughed again, that light, unbothered sound that always made me feel like she knew more than she was saying. But after a while, the laughter faded and she looked thoughtful. Back home, she said, quieter now, we thought having powers would fix everything, that if we were special enough, the world would finally make sense. But here I am, and it still doesn't. Turns out magic's just another kind of noise if you're not careful. Her words hung in the air, soft but heavy. The light was thinning, the forest turning that dusky shade between gold and grey. Maybe, I said slowly, you're not the only protagonist. Maybe everyone's story just starts later than they expect. She looked at me for a long moment, and then smiled, small, real. Maybe so, Wyler. Onion chose that exact moment to sneeze explosively behind us, sending dust everywhere. Danny laughed until she cried, and somehow I felt that flicker of mana again, quiet, pulsing, alive. That's weird, I said. I feel like the main character.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Stay tuned for more of Wyler and Danny. I hope to see you there.